Boop. And what up, you guys? Welcome back to Feral Publications YouTube channel. It's me, Rich. Daily uploads to open up my own shop. And first things first, today I needed to get some envelopes to finish packing the orders that I received over the weekend. I'm definitely not caught up with the orders yet. Thanks to you guys, I have more orders now to pack up, but that's going to be a problem for tomorrow. What ends up occurring is, as you guys can see here, a lot of this envelope art does take time to put together and to, you know, throw down, and kind of like, honestly, sometimes I get lost just thinking like what to draw. And don't get me wrong, there's been times where I've drawn shit, didn't like it, and then had to redo them shits. But the idea is that like I want to create something that's fun and inviting for the people that are getting it, right? So the people now that are buying these comics, they're getting zines, they're getting stickers, and like we're just gonna keep growing and building this thing up. I have other orders from Etsy and Big Cartel that I also have to put together, and those are just good problems to have, man. And I really do appreciate everyone that's showing up and showing out. And I guess this is almost like a celebration video because we just hit 2,000 subscribers, and like we've passed it now, because it was teetering for a little bit, but I wasn't gonna make a video about this until like I legitimately knew like either we had 2,000 or beyond. And now we're a little bit beyond, and I definitely am humbled and appreciate the community for showing up and for vibing with what I'm doing, right? And like understanding and seeing the value in building these outside structures, right? These institutions that can counter like the established, you know, media distribution system, right? That can kind of bypass the gatekeepers, and so that we can communicate amongst each other. We can also spread our own ideas, right? Create our own characters that empower us. Like, this is just the tip of the iceberg. But the reality is, when I think about how many people want to tell their story to empower themselves, to empower their community, you know, to represent themselves and their community, like all those things really does matter in the end. And I know that this thing is something that more people want, and I also understand that it's an uphill battle, that nothing happens overnight, and that's why I show up daily and I do what I can daily so that I can push the needle forward daily, you know? And it's very heartwarming for myself when you do the work and then you start seeing results. Like, it really does. Again, one thing leads to the next, and then you start getting into a stride, right? And before too long, you're almost like leaping like the Hulk. And like, I'm down, I'm with that, you know what I mean? As I've been liquidating the comics, I've been making more room and a lot of the space that I have here to utilize for the book binding. And like, now I can't wait to jump into that and contemplate what I'm going to be publishing and how I'm going to be publishing it. And like I said, like, as more funds are coming into for a publication, there's just more possibilities as to what we can do, and it's just a question of like, how do we want to do it, right? And what way, what capacity, and what's going to better serve the community, what's better going to serve that mission for Feral Publication of like helping, you know, aiding and abetting, you know, different perspectives, different art, right? And really just amplifying marginalized voices and communities in the art spaces. You know, like, we're trying to diversify art, and like that's what it's all about, right? I think about certain titles that like I really enjoy and I just wish more people read, and I definitely want to do a larger review of like something like Transcat. I think Transcat is a perfect example of a comic book that like, if it had a larger distribution, would hella pop. Like, that comic is so charming and so comedic. Like, I don't see how more people haven't bumped into it, and it's probably because they just don't know it exists. So I definitely know that future Feral Publication video will have to be a deep dive into the Transcat comic. But like, that's what I'm trying to do, right? Like, there's so much good art that isn't necessarily the mainstream narrative and isn't necessarily so centric to like a person should be, and this is what you should do, right? And just like different lifestyles and perspectives. So in short, 2,000 subscribers. Thank you guys so much, man. I really do appreciate it. The YouTube channel continues to grow. The sales are growing. the whole thing is coming together, man, and it's because we're all showing up to do this thing daily. And I really, like I said, you know, I can't appreciate the community enough, because I think the work we're doing here and the work we're gonna do in the future is really gonna matter, and it's something that has been missing for a long time, and it's probably something that's needed even more now. I remember early this year having the tagline like, "Feral Publication where weird calls home," and weird is something that the world needs right now. And like, that's genuinely what I feel. I feel like as the world begins to turn gray, you know, different shades of gray, like I want to be colorful. I want to stand out, right? Like, again, I want to be aggressively different. And I think that people that feel that same way and have that same sentiment are gravitating to Feral Publication, and then that's how we're going to build these outside, you know, anti-establishment systems that can counterbalance like all that nonsense, you know. And that's what we're up to, man. So thank you so much for watching. Please like, share, subscribe, and don't forget there will be a link in the show notes to feralpublication.com where you guys can cop the shit that I make. Beyond that, man, guess what? I do this shit daily. I'll see you tomorrow. Lates.